Overwatch 2 has got a new event, but it's China only. Why is that the case? Hello, everyone, and welcome to the channel. So, come with me. This is going to be really interesting because, firstly, let's take a look at this. This is over on esports.gg, and they threw up an article, and they're referencing a lot of sources on Twitter, and they're basically saying, like, okay, players in China are getting an exclusive Overwatch 2 Talon event. Here's what we know about it so far. And basically, this event is going to start December the 31st. So, of course, it's already began. And it's like a lore primer event. It's an event where the Chinese players can get up to speed with Talon lore. Now, this is firmly because we believe next year, or, well, it is that year now, whatever. It's always strange when the year changes. But Overwatch is going to have some major new story beats. So everyone needs to know what's going on with Talon. Now, I already know what you guys are saying because I'm saying the same thing. Well, why not just give this to everyone? Why is this a Chinese exclusive event? The answer to that is actually quite simple. It's because Blizzard are not developing this content. NetEase is, because NetEase is the Chinese distribution partner of Overwatch. That is a key thing to remember. Because what happens is, essentially, they have a license, or NetEase have the trade licenses in place to be able to effectively sell the game in the region. So if you want your game in China, and of course everybody wants their game in China because it's an absolutely massive market, you have to hand over the reins to a third-party company. Now, in this case, it's NetEase. So NetEase, they also do Marvel Rivals, but we'll get onto that a bit later. But NetEase, they turn up and they say, hey, we're going to publish your game in our region. But we want certain creative control. We want to be able to actually make new content and operate the game that works in our region. So making little changes, things are a little bit different. There's like little different things with the way loot boxes are done and all that kind of stuff on the Chinese client for Overwatch 2. Now, with that being said, this means they will develop their own content. So as we look through this article, and I'll show you some other sources in a second, but if you look at this article, you can see we get this nice picture, and I've actually got a better version of this here. So this is put together by Overwatch Cavalry, and it's just a bunch of screenshots from Weibo, and you can see there's some, I think, new bits of content here. I think this Sombra is new. I'm not sure this Widowmaker's new, and again, the Sombra might not be new. Again, this might just be rehashed lore from very old comics that they've just put together. Again, it's like a refresher. But like I said, it is frustrating when you look at this and you think, well, why can't we just have this in the global version of the game? And like I said, the reason is because it's essentially a different development team that are making the content, and they can't put it into the client. Like, or it's almost like the client is different. It's the same, but a little bit different enough that the Chinese developers, essentially NetEase, can add content into the game. I'm sure there'll be some sort of oversight from Blizzard where they're giving them guidance and direction, but they do have the sort of the onus on themselves to make content, which is basically what we're seeing here. So yeah, this is all cool. It's good stuff. But let's jump back to this article, because as we go down, you can kind of see they give like a brief explanation of what this is. So in terms of what to expect in the Overwatch 2 Talon event, what we know from the artwork is that Doomfist, Widowmaker, Sombra, and Maximilian appear to be in the casino of sorts. Now, we've seen this, like I said, in old lore content way back when in the... it might have even been around Doomfist's launch. I think it's the Doomfist comic, isn't it? Where they're in the casino. Moira is caught in some security footage. Sigma is in a lab. Augusto Viali appears to be in a meeting room. And Gabriel Reyes, before he became Reaper, is shaking hands with someone. As for Vendetta, she's in Colosseo. Now, Viali was the leader of Talon before Doomfist kills him and becomes the leader, I believe. Do not kill me in the comments below, but if you're a lore buff, then go ahead and kill me in the comments below. Anyway, in Overwatch 2, Doomfist is a leader of Talon. Other members of the organization who are currently in the game include Moira, Reaper, Widowmaker, Sombra, Malga, and Sigma. As noted, Batiste is a former member. As for Vendetta, she has a lot of history with the organization. Then you see this, again, this still, and Doomfist gave away my rightful place on the Talon Council. That is taken from the... I think that's taken from the Vendetta comic, right? Because Doomfist takes away her rightful place on the council because Reaper kills Vendetta's father. Yeah, I'm not the best on the lore. I've got a basic understanding, but whatever. It just goes on to explain who Augusto Viali is, little bits and pieces and stuff like that. So it's interesting, right? But then you go over onto Twitter and you start seeing screenshots from the event, and notably you start seeing the reaction of people where they're like, what the hell is this? You know, a very impassioned reaction here because Moira Scientist is available in this event, and there's a bunch of other skins which you can't actually get in the free loot boxes in the Western version of the game or the global version, but you can earn them in the Chinese client. But again, like I said, you have to remember, this is like a completely different way of monetizing the game. They've got a different client, different monetization systems, a different partner, different agreements. So we are going to see a kind of, a different approach. And I honestly think in some ways, this is kind of cool because when you look at what they're doing, it might impact what's going to happen in the Western version of the game or the global version, where there might be a bit of crossover. Maybe there's almost like you've got another development team. They might have other ideas that go back and forward. And I'm not saying that's all going to be great. I don't want some, horrific gacha-filled, terrible game which, you can argue a lot of games from Asia, especially mobile games, typically are. But we'll get onto mobile in a second because the head of Blizzard Mobile Development was also over in China announcing another event. But we'll get to that in a second because all of this, it all paints a picture. So, yeah, you're looking at this, right, and you can see standard low-resolution screenshots, because why not, of the Moira skin being earnable. From Portal Overwatch, I think I've got them open over here. Oh, actually, this is, again, I think this was a skin that you could only earn by completing one of those little mini events, I believe. And now it's just like in the game. You've got to remember as well, in the Chinese client, they gave away basically, I think they gave away all of the Overwatch 1 skins, right? And a lot of the skins up to, in Overwatch 2, up to the point they launched Overwatch 2 in China. It's like a catch-up mechanic, almost like a, we're sorry for not being available. Because remember, Overwatch wasn't available in China for quite a long time when all of the stuff with Bobby Kotick was going on and their communication and sort of business relationship with NetEase broke down, so there was no game. And also this extended to all the Blizzard games, right? So you didn't have World of Warcraft in China as well, but that's all since been resolved. Anyway, this is the original post from Portal Overwatch. Now, I've translated this, so it might be slightly inaccurate, but they say the new Talon event is now available in China. Unlock important character profiles daily for a chance to win a skin of your choice and complete challenges to obtain item crates and exclusive rewards, right? So again, it would be nice if this was just in the game for us, because we need a lore refresher as well. It's not like, this wouldn't work for the global audience. And it's not like China have just been cut off and they don't know what's going on either. This is just an event which has been put together by the Chinese development team. So you can see there's a bunch of screenshots here showing you, the rewards and what you're going to get for unlocking. You can see a bunch of the different skins. And there'll be skins here, like that one, that Reyes skin. Isn't that from the Collector's Edition? I think that's from the Collector's Edition, right, of Overwatch? Or not the Collector's Edition, the Ultimate Edition or something. I can't remember what it was called. Like when you bought the original game, you could pay a couple dollars, probably like $20 more, and you got like a Widowmaker skin, a Tracer skin, like the Tracer Pilot skin, and then that skin as well. Maybe another skin. Oh, yeah, and the Soldier skin, of course, the Commander Morrison skin. So you can see why people would be kind of angry at this. This is, I think, the lore progression. You're unlocking sort of tidbits of lore as it's going through, which is pretty cool. And then you've got a bit lore information, explanation. And there's kind of similar stuff to this in the game, I think, already. But, cool to see. And then we see Doomfist, right? Now, this is an interesting one because I believe it's not visible here, but I will show you. There is a Doomfist skin, which is... I think maybe it comes along, but you get the idea, right, with these screenshots. Bunch of Vendetta ones. Vendetta recolors. I don't think have we got these in the game? We might have, we might not. I don't know. I'm not sure. Malga, again, is that one a recolor? Maybe, I'm not sure. Again, none of this really matters. All I'm just showing you is what's available in this event. When you're completing these challenges, you're able to select skins and unlock them. But the Doomfist skin, if we just come off this for a second, I've got this open in another tab. So this skin here, it says, again, this is from Portal Overwatch, a skin, hang on, this is not, that's not translated, but a Doomfist skin, this I don't think is in the game. I think this is new. I think this is a new skin, right? Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's a new skin. So there is a worry that you might start seeing a divergence where there's things in the Chinese client that are not in our client. The other thing I want to talk about, right, is this, right? So this is the first clip I could find on the internet. Now, well, I'm going to play this, but this is interesting for a number of reasons. I'll turn this up a little bit.
Hello to all players of Overwatch and Naraka Blade Point. I'm Walter Kong, SVP and Head of Development, Live Games and Mobile at Blizzard. I'm really happy to be at Naraka's annual event, Naraka Fest, to share some incredibly exciting news with all of you. A two-way crossover between Overwatch and Naraka is officially happening. February 17th is Chinese New Year. To celebrate this important traditional festival, we've prepared our two-way collaboration with Naraka.
All right, that's what I wanted him to say. Two-way collaboration. I believe this is the first time Overwatch has done this. So Naraka is going to come, or characters from that game, I think mecha suits and stuff, are going to come into Overwatch, skin collaborations, but also Overwatch characters are going to go into their game, skin kind of collaborations. Now, the other thing to note here with Walter Kong, he is the mobile game guy. He's in charge of the mobile game department. He runs live service games at Blizzard. So I think, again, this is tying into the fact that we're going to get a mobile game launch of Overwatch fairly soon. Could potentially be a case that it's just launched in China, which, you know, you could see. Or there may be a totally different game for it in China, or it may be developed by NetEase, because, again, you've got to think about Diablo Immortal and the connections there with Blizzard and NetEase and development of mobile games and all of that stuff. But I think what's going on here is Walter's over in China to secure the mobile game development. We're going to see the mobile game launched this year at some point, probably global. And he's announcing this event where, for the first time, Overwatch stuff is going into another game. So this could pave the way for seeing things like, you know, the Overwatch Fortnite collaboration, right? Where you could potentially see Overwatch characters in Fortnite, and, you know, things go from there. So that's kind of the big takeaway from this.
As a special present for all of our Chinese players, and it will be exclusive in China. Furthermore, we are co-developing a brand new skin set with the Naraka team for D.Va and Feria Shen, our two iconic mecha pilots.
So there you go. I don't know why I just tried to make up what was going on. Basically, he says it, right? So D.Va and the character from Blade Point are going to get skins, and it's a Chinese-only event,
which will launch simultaneously in both games in China. Finally, I want to wish all Overwatch and Naraka players an early Happy New Year. 新年快乐，恭喜发财.
Okay, so let's talk about this. So NetEase, they were on record a while ago saying, well, you know, the market's actually large enough for Rivals and and Overwatch 2. Now, this is 10 months old, this article, so this isn't something they've dropped recently. But what's interesting about this, I'm not going to read through it. I just thought I'd throw this in because it's funny to think, isn't it? Both of the sort of big hero shooters are run by the same company in China, and one company is doing a lot of, I don't want to say damage, because I don't think Marvel Rivals is damaging Overwatch. In a lot of ways, it's actually pushing Overwatch to sort of, you know, develop the game in a different direction, make it more, you know, go back to sort of, I don't know, how can I say this? Like, go back to actually delighting the player base rather than just pumping skins into the game and all that kind of shit. So, like, there are pros and cons to this. But what is really interesting to me is NetEase has got the sort of the control of, it's got the main competitor to Overwatch in the West. I'm not too sure Marvel Rivals is that popular in China. I mean, it's probably popular, but I don't think it's at the level it is as it is in the West. I think Overwatch is actually a more popular game in China. But in the West, you've got, like, you're controlling the main competitor to Overwatch, and you've got Overwatch. So surely, right, there must be some level of industrial espionage, if I could say that right, espionage going on, where they must have the inside track as to what Overwatch is doing. They must know what heroes Overwatch are developing, what new content, what new gameplay, what new features, the dates of their major updates. And I can bet you they're going to be going, oh, let's take a look at our Marvel Rivals here. Maybe we can snipe them and get our updates out faster, or even take their updates, develop them quicker, and put them into our game. Oh, and by the way, we also run Overwatch in China. It is a very interesting situation. All right, then. So, like, where does this go from here? This is the question, I suppose. I think ultimately what we're going to see is more and more stuff being added to the Chinese client of the game, which will not be available in the rest of the world. Now, this actually isn't an inherently bad thing, because it might mean Overwatch is actually doing a lot of numbers over in China. And in a weird way, the Chinese sales, or the revenue that's actually being generated in China, might actually allow the Western game to keep being developed in a way which means it doesn't need as aggressive a monetization plan as maybe they've used in the past. Now, don't get me wrong here. I don't think we're going to see a drastic change in the way Overwatch is monetized. Things are still going to be expensive. You're still going to see a lot of cross-collaboration skin events. You're probably still going to see the reduction of the quality of mythic skins, because I don't think they make much money on those, especially compared to the likes of the K-pop collaborations that they do, or even I guess the smaller collaborations that they do. A known IP is going to sell more than a mythic skin, which maybe doesn't look the best because they're quite hit and miss with mythic development. But I think that's just because it looks very clear to me that internal development, let's say, pipelines have been shifted more to the cross-collaboration stuff instead of the mythic stuff. But you guys let me know what you think about this, right? Because I honestly do think, this isn't really too bad for the game. And it's actually quite interesting to see what goes on when other people are sort of pushing Overwatch in a certain direction. But be under no illusion here, it is a game that's being developed for a very specific market, and it's not always going to be a positive, right? Because sometimes they might actually get really good stuff that we might look at and think, why are we not getting that in this game? Maybe Blizzard will eventually start pulling their stuff over into the actual global client. But again, I think there's going to be a lot of legal issues with this. There's going to be loads of agreements, things that are only possible in China, that maybe don't work externally for all kinds of boring legal reasons that I actually don't care about. All right, guys, thanks for watching the video. I've been Stylosa. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, then let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel. It does help, and I'll do my best to keep all of the, I want to say quality discussion, but whatever. I'm going to keep all of the discussion coming your way, and I'll catch you on the next one. Toodaloo!